Hello, and welcome to Everyday Simple Somatics, a podcast dedicated to helping you find healing through your body's natural wisdom. I'm Dr. Christine Baker, and I'll be your host. So today we are continuing our series on embodied Enneagram work, and we will be talking about type 5. And so I am very excited to hear this. This is my husband's type. And so I can't wait to learn more about him from Meagan. And speaking of Meagan, this series of embodiment, somatic work, and the Enneagram has been something that's been requested by listeners for a while. And I just did not feel competent to do it because I don't have formal Enneagram training. And so when I found Meagan, I was so excited. She has been such a joy to record these episodes with. And so let me tell you a little bit about her. So Meagan Connley has been our guest on all the previous episodes in this series. She will continue to be our guest. And she is an integrative somatic practitioner. And she is the founder of Presence with Love. She has extensive training in body-based healing. She has trained in the Somatic Enneagram. She's trained in somatic experiencing. She's a certified yin yoga teacher. She's done breath work facilitation. So she really understands how our personality patterns and our nervous systems and our bodies are all interconnected. And so I'm incredibly grateful to have her as our guest during this series. So welcome, Meagan.
Thank you. So nice to be here. So excited to be moving into our head types today.
Awesome. Well, I say we go ahead and jump in. So we will be talking about type 5 today. So for our listeners who may be new to the Enneagram, why don't we start with the basics and just paint a picture for us of type 5s?
So type 5, the naming convention I use here is the investigator. And the core fear is of being useless, incompetent, incapable, being invaded or depleted, like this sense of there's so much that the world expects of me. They want too much and I don't have enough to give energetically or mentally. So what I want is to feel competent. I want to feel capable. And there's this way that knowledge or information is what really makes me feel capable. If I can understand it, if I can figure it out, if I have a framework for this, if I have research on this, if I have data on this, then I will feel competent. I'll feel capable. I'll feel safe enough, right? So that's the kind of dynamic that is going back and forth for the 5s, and different behaviors of how that might be showing up is 5s might generally like to have a lot of alone time, lots of quiet time, downtime. Again, I'm going to read or go down the rabbit hole on the internet or this or that, wanting to do a lot of that kind of research. They might become experts in something. Let me go really deep into one area that I really am passionate about, pursuing those kind of mental, intellectual interests. And there can be a way that they're, again, like intellectualizing their feelings. So they could be like, I'm thinking my feelings instead of feeling my feelings. And like, what really is the point of feelings? Do I really need to spend time on that? And the way that, again, information helps them feel more comfort and support. So maybe not other people being a resource as much as information being a resource.
Yeah, so helpful. Okay. And then if we were to kind of shift over into the embodiment piece, like what would you say about the somatic profile for this number?
Yeah. So as we're moving into the head types, so 5, 6, and 7, all in that head center, all of those types really care about, and again, we all have a head center, a heart center, and a body center. So we all care about these things, but there's a way that these types can care a lot about security, trust, guidance. Who can I trust? Can I trust myself? Can I trust you? Can I trust your information? What's the plan? How do I know if I'm going to be okay? So with that center really caring about those things, if I can't figure things out, if I don't know if I trust you, if I don't understand things, if I don't feel safe in some way, the emotion that comes with that is fear. Makes sense. Logical. Of course. I would be afraid if I don't know if I'm going to be okay. So what can happen with the 5s is they might tend to repress that. And when we think about from the Somatic Enneagram framework, Marion Gilbert is really placing the flight response in connection with the head center. So the flight response, that emotion of fear, can get repressed in 5s. So we might start to look for how is that showing up? What's happening in your body? with the flight response and the emotion of fear. And another way we can think about somatically what's happening with this type structure is from the Hornevian triad or the social stance. How are we getting our needs met? The fives, like the 9 and the 4, are in that withdrawing stance. So moving away from people to get my needs met, I'm going to go up into my head. I'm going to go into my fantasy land. I'm going to somehow go into my own inner world. And with that, I could repress taking action. So again, doesn't mean that I'm not necessarily doing anything, but it could be that I'm doing less or I'm not really engaged in what's priority. So seeing how those things might be showing up through your body. And Marion talks about the defense mechanism as what's keeping kind of that structure in place. I want to go towards this and I want to avoid that. And the defense mechanism kind of running that. For the fives, that might be showing up like I'm isolating. So the defense mechanism of isolation, which again could be physically moving away or the mental kind of moving away. I'm avoiding some fear. I'm redirecting energy to my head and isolating. So how does that show up in the body? And some ways that this might kind of somaticize in different ways is I could be really sensitive to stimulation. I could be kind of holding things in my core and my ribs, this like tightening pattern going on, right? I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough knowledge. I'm kind of holding on to things. Don't come at me. Don't take from me. It could look like I'm not fully like here with you because again, I'm somewhere else. So noticing floating, disconnection, there could be anxiety or just feeling low energy. So those are some things that we might be curious about.
That's so good. Man, I have like 3,000 questions, but I'm gonna pick one. Even as you were like describing that, I'm like thinking about clients. And do you feel like the head center would be clients that struggle more with embodiment practice? Or do you feel like it's not like that clear? Like it's just like some people do, some people don't.
I would say in general, I have less head type clients. Like I have more people coming to me that are body types or heart types. So
That's
there are
interesting,
even
yeah.
less people that are seeking somatic work, I think, from the head center maybe. And I think it does feel harder for them to stay with it. Like even if I could tap into it for a little bit, it's so quick that I want to analyze it comes in.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because of course, like with my husband, I've like practiced SE on him and stuff. And like he can like go there for like 2 seconds and then he's like, what are we doing? Like, what is this even doing? You know, like he's like, I have to know, I have to understand. So anyway, yeah, I can totally see that. Okay, great. So I wonder when we're looking at the type 5, what might be some of the early warning signs in the body that this person is starting to feel a little dysregulated or stressed?
Yeah. The framework we've kind of been looking at through the lens of the Enneagram is the arrows that are in the symbol. And the arrow that's kind of showing us stress. I'm feeling something going on in my body, and now I might be going to a different type structure. My type structure is not working. I need something else. So for the 5, that's a move towards 7. And in that arena, they might look a little bit more kind of eccentric, disorganized, scattered. There's this way they can be like a little more frivolous, distracted, unreliable. So if some of those things are coming up, could be an invitation to see what's going on. And if we've been dysregulated kind of for a long time, if we don't have a lot of resource and support, we're really relying on ego that's running our patterns. We're in these kind of lower levels of health or development, as we might say through the Enneagram. The 5s that's when they really, really start to look more reclusive, really more like private. I'm worried about my security. I'm more cynical, can be condescending, disconnected, and just very focused on safety and independence. So if that's been hanging around for a while, those are some signs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
And then what about the other side of things? What would you be seeing in someone who's really been doing their work as a 5?
Yeah. So a couple different ways of looking at this. One is Marion Gilbert through Somatic Enneagram talks about nurturing instincts. So we've talked about for the body center as the fight response. If I don't need fight, I can play. We talked about for the heart types, if I don't need to freeze, then that means I can reach out and seek connection. So
Mm.
for the head types, the flight response, if I don't need to run away and protect myself, if I'm not scared and afraid for my life, that energy can now be used for curiosity. I can be more
Mm.
engaged and asking questions and what is that? And like really trying to understand not from a place of fear, but from a
Yes.
place of presence, of
Okay.
love and connection and oh yeah, like we are different. Things are that way. And what does that mean? Really
Yeah.
getting to be curious when I don't need to protect myself with information.
I love that. Like, even as you were, like, kind of acting that out just now, I was thinking it looks like fun learning. Like, it's
Mm.
like I may still be like, curiosity, right? Like, I may still be learning, but there's, like, a funness to it. So I really love that. That's cool.
There's one more thing I might say about the 5 too, because I've touched on
Yes.
this for the other types, is this idea of when we're not in that like this or this, avoid
Mhm.
this, go toward that thing. And I'm not in that duality and I can accept both, all wholeness, right?
Mhm.
The holy idea coming through for the 5 is holy omniscience. And that's this way of like, I know what I need to know when I need to know it.
Mm.
Information drops in, wisdom drops in, things arise, knowledge is here. I'm not
Mhm.
grasping for information, I'm trusting. There's a
Mm.
little bit more surrender to it that I know what I need to know in this moment.
Mm.
And that I'm going to learn from being engaged, not from isolating, but by showing up, I'm going
Mhm.
to learn and I'll know what I need to know in each moment.
I love that. That's really beautiful. Okay. Well, I know for each episode, we've kind of given you a little space to lead us through a practice. And so I think now would be a great time for that for our fives.
Yeah. And we've kind of been talking about what's something we might pay attention to every day, right? Some way that this type is showing up, and I could invite myself to come into my body and explore what things are like. So, for the 5, what is it like for you to not know or understand something? So, before you start doing the research, before you start going toward the information, if you're just sitting in that moment of, I don't know, I don't get it. What does that feel like? Can you make a little bit more space for being with the somatic experience of that? So, one practice there. And then we've been inviting a practice now. And so that could be now as you're listening, or now you pause and you come back when you have space. Our practices and the invitations from the Enneagram can feel like a lot. It can be challenging in some ways. So we want to come to this when we have resource and capacity. So if that's now, we can even start with coming into the body a little bit more. So maybe that looks like a little bit of movement if you've been hunched over or closed or bracing. Maybe you want to do some kind of like shoulder rolls, or your ribs might want to twist and turn. And again, for the 5s, an invitation to see if you can notice anything below your neck. What are you feeling a little bit lower? Maybe that's your feet or your seat. Seeing if you might notice somewhere that feels okay, a place you can come back to if you need it. And we'll invite tuning into this feeling tone of the 5 that is avarice, holding on of resources, holding on to knowledge, holding on to energy, not wanting to be depleted, maybe feeling a little greedy for time or space or information. What does that feel like? And again, your mind might have stories or thoughts about that, and that's okay. Maybe taking a breath, seeing if you can notice any sensations somewhere in your body, what it's like when you're holding on, wanting more, hoarding what you have. Seeing maybe if there's an image or a color. Remembering you're still breathing and you're still here in this moment. And maybe seeing if there's any impulses to move, to take on a different shape. How does that holding pattern show up in your body? And you might find things that open, you might find things that close, and you're still breathing. Coming to resource if you need it. And when you think about and feel into wanting more information, I don't have enough, I need to hold on to it. What emotion might be here? And can you feel that showing up in your body? Letting any other thoughts or stories or things your mind might want to say come through. You can acknowledge that too. And staying with this as long as you would like to see what else might be here, or if it feels complete enough for now. Maybe letting go of an exhale if you've been holding your breath in any way. Maybe seeing if there's any rhythm that your body might invite. Tapping your feet, wiggling, or shifting or rocking. Seeing if you might notice somewhere that energy is flowing. And tuning into anything else that would feel supportive for you to come back to this moment, feel connected with yourself. Again, taking as long as you need to feel a little grounded, settled, present enough to come back.
Thank you, Megan. That was such a nice practice. I appreciate it. I will definitely be requesting my husband to listen to this episode. So many helpful things. Well, as we kind of wrap up talking about our type 5, I wonder if there was one piece of wisdom or encouragement about their healing journey for our fives. What might that be for you?
Yeah, and I've kind of been inviting from Marion's lens that pain is an invitation to wake up, and it's not always easy or comfortable, but there's so much wisdom in that. And for the fives, I know it sucks, but your head is not separate from your body, right? They're connected and it's supposed to be that way. And there's stuff going on down here that has a lot of wisdom, right? That wisdom that you're seeking, the clarity, the knowledge, it's also here too. So seeing what that might be like for you.
I love that. It's so good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this about our fives. I'd love to just take a second. If there is anyone listening who is getting curious about their own Enneagram number, their own Enneagram work, their own somatic work, and they might be interested in working with you, where would you direct them?
Yeah, you can find me at presencewithlove.com or on Instagram at Meagan Connley. And if you've been listening to this series, you're maybe not quite sure about your Enneagram type, or you might have a clue, but you want to learn more, of a really foundational, kind of comprehensive program for learning the framework, going more in depth with each of the types, and how you can start to work with it for yourself. And then also working with clients for shorter or longer term somatic work.
And now all of that will be in the show notes as well, so you can check out her information there. Next week, we will be diving into our Enneagram 6s, so hopefully you will stick around for that. And until then, just a reminder, your body has innate wisdom. All we have to do is learn how to listen to it, and that's what I'm here for. I'll see you next time.